Am I the asshole if I tell the police or my parents that my sister has been stalking someone for years and might kill her? Originally posted to r/am I the asshole, and the post reads as follows. Am I the asshole? I genuinely feel stuck. The other am I the asshole doesn't allow violence, which is how I found the subreddit. So I, 23 female, have a sister, 25 female, and I'm really worried about her. Her ex cheated on her 5 years ago with this woman, and ever since, she's been obsessed and stalking her. At first, she said it was to see if she got karma for what she did, but now it's turned actually psychotic and maybe violent, and I don't know what to do or if I should tell my parents. My sister started dating this guy when she was in high school. He came to our house a million times, and we all saw him as a part of our family, especially when they stayed together after graduation. 5 years ago, he cheated on my sister, and she found out a few days after their 5th year anniversary when they were like 20. The girl he cheated with knew he had a girlfriend, but that didn't stop her from hooking up with him. My sister was, of course, devastated, but she gave him another chance, and a few weeks later, he ended up breaking up with her, and she found out that he never stopped talking to the other girl, even though she forgave him. When she was exposing the side chick in the beginning on her Snap stories, I, of course, understood and supported her as a sister and found the girl disgusting. I thought my sister would get over it with time and was there for her from the beginning. After 2 years, I was shocked she hadn't moved on. She forgave her ex and even slept with him after the breakup, but she always hated the girl. The girl blocked her everywhere, but my sister still watched all her pages and knew everything she did. If the girl posted herself at a restaurant on her story, my sister would drive to it and eat there and purposefully walk by the girl's table to make her ashamed of what she did. She also knew where she lived in her work schedule and followed her around all the time and would constantly tell me how much she hates her and how she's never wanted someone to be dead so bad. I found it very concerning, and when I told my sister she needed therapy and that our parents should know how badly and long this has been affecting her, she shut down completely and told me she was just joking and hasn't told me anything else. That was 3 years ago. My sister has dated casually briefly since, so I assumed she moved on. It has been 3 years since she told me anything about her stalking and hating the girl, and I had completely forgotten about the situation until this past weekend. My sister had a work trip last week and asked if I could feed, walk, and basically babysit her new puppy who needs a lot of attention. I said sure, since I'm doing all my classes online this semester, and stayed the week at her apartment. It's a few cities away, so I've only gotten to see her a few times since she's moved here. And duh, as a sister, I made myself welcome in her apartment and slept on her bed. I always slept on the left side, but on Saturday I was cold and wanted to sleep on the right side, which is closer to the heater, and when I laid my head down, I felt something uncomfortable and realized there was something inside of her many pillows. Inside of it was a composite notebook labeled Anna. Not her actual name, but the girl her ex cheated on her with. When I saw that, I was shocked. I hadn't thought of that name in years. The journal was so scary. Basically, she never got over the situation and has been waiting on karma to get the girl back for being the other woman, but it hasn't. I didn't keep up with the girl's life, but she moved away years ago, got married, and makes lifestyle content for what looks like fun since she doesn't have many followers on any of her pages. Her life seems perfect. My sister goes on and on about how much she hates this woman, but what scared me is that my sister flew out to this girl's city to stalk her in person and figure out what house she lives in. She tried to figure it out from what she posts of her house and area. During a time, she told us she was visiting her friend who was sick. I was so shocked she would go that far. And it wasn't just one time. She's done it twice from what I read. Also, the notebook I found is dated and only goes back to May of 2024, so I assume she has multiple other ones, none I could find. She stated in it the only way she will get over it is if the other woman suffers, and since karma hasn't gotten her back, my sister will. There was also a lot of weird, threatening things in there, like how she describes wanting to watch her pass away. I was so weirded out, and when my sister got back Monday, I tried to act normal. I know it's crazy, but a part of me thought she left the state to kill the girl. I went to view the girl's Insta page on a burner I made, and she's posted since, so she's alive. That's when I realized that fact that I could think my sister would seriously do that is insane, and that if 5 years later she still can't get over the situation, she needs a lot of help. I'm worried for her and also the other girl. I never thought I could feel bad for her, but if only I could describe better what my sister wrote. I truly feel like she may be in danger. The issue is I'm scared if I tell my parents, who don't know anything, and that my sister got over it way before I did, there's not much they can do just based on my word alone. My sister has a job, apartment, her own life. I didn't take the notebook. I obviously don't want her to know. I know, so I have no proof. I wish I took a screenshot, but I was so in shock, all I could do was read, and when I finished, I put it back and felt dirty. I don't know what to do. Would I be the asshole if I don't speak up? Should I try to go back to get more proof and then tell my parents so they can maybe stage an intervention? I am so stressed. And now let's get into some of the top comments. Someone says, you need to speak up now. This is not normal heartbreak or lingering resentment. This is full-blown, escalating stalking behavior with real potential for violence. You are absolutely not the asshole for reporting this, but you would be complicit if something happens and you stay silent. Why this is a real risk. Your sister's behavior has crossed multiple red lines. 1, she has been obsessed with this woman for 5 years, long past when most people would have moved on. 2, she physically tracked her in real life, not just online. Stalking someone across state lines means this is no longer just an emotional fixation. It's a growing, tangible threat. Number 3, she keeps a journal documenting violent fantasies and openly writes that she sees hurting this woman as the only way to move on. Number 4, she has already lied to cover up her stalking trips. If she's willing to deceive her own family, she is fully capable of taking further steps. And number 5, she believes karma hasn't punished this woman enough, so she might take justice into her own hands. This mindset is incredibly dangerous because it suggests she thinks violence is justified. What you need to do, number 1, tell your parents ASAP. Even if they don't believe you at first, insist that they listen. Your sister may be functional in other areas of life, but this specific behavior is not rational. Number 2, gather any proof you can. If you have access to her notebook again, take photos or notes. If you remember past conversations where she admitted to following or stalking this woman, write them down. Number 3, consider going to the police. Even if you don't have physical proof, you can file a stalking tip or welfare concern. Law enforcement may not act immediately, but putting her on their radar could prevent something worse later. Number 4, reach out to a mental health professional if she'd be open to it. Your sister clearly needs help, and she may not realize how deep she's fallen into this obsession. If she refuses, that's even more reason to escalate the situation. Number 5, warn the woman if possible, if there's a safe way to do it, like anonymously. Letting her know she may be in danger gives her a chance to protect herself. This isn't about tattling, it's about preventing a crime. If your sister actually follows through on these threats, you will regret staying silent forever. Stalking cases often escalate from watching to following to confronting and then to physical harm or worse. She is already at stage 2 or 3. If you wait until she makes a more direct move, it might be too late. It's scary, but you have the power to intervene before this turns into something tragic. Do not second guess yourself. Speak up now. And basically, every single comment on that post was the same exact thing, except shorter. People were just saying, please get off of Reddit and go to the police or tell your parents or do both because your sister is kind of crazy. And so the OP posted an update 10 months later. And let's get into that update. The OP says, thank you to everyone who replied to this and gave me a lot of feedback on what to do. This was almost a year ago and a lot has happened. A lot of people recommended that I tell my parents, so I did. They were so shocked but said I must be overreacting and that maybe I misunderstood what I saw. That my sister isn't crazy and that it was probably an old journal that I found. My mom even told me it was rude to snoop. I immediately regretted telling them and begged them not to tell her, and they promised they wouldn't. A few weeks after that, I noticed my sister blocked me on Instagram and my texts weren't going through. I found out that my mom slipped up the night before and told my sister over the phone what I told her, and my sister told my mom that I'm crazy. Oh my God, this is insane how the mom slipped like that. That she doesn't even journal anymore, and that I was just trying to paint her out to be a bad person. Oh my God, come on. Are you kidding me? The mom seriously told this, Jesus. And now the sister's gonna hide all the evidence, but let's keep reading. My mom told us that we were being petty and to just drop it, but my sister completely cut me off and didn't speak to me for months. I just moved on with my life. A few months ago, my sister was arrested. Oh my God, I told you guys. I knew this was coming. Why did the mom slip up? They should have gone to the police. Come on. Well, let's continue. She got extremely drunk and went to her ex-boyfriend's house and tried to break in. Oh my God. There's Ring camera footage of her confessing her love for him, saying that she will never leave him alone, and then he has to open the door and her trying to kick the door down. This man is married with kids. This was crazy. I never thought something like this would happen. When my parents found out, they immediately believed me, sat me down, and asked me to tell them everything that I read again. Oh, now the parents want to listen. My mom told me that she just didn't want to think that it could ever be true that my sister was still crazy and stuck on this. And that's why she told me that she didn't believe me at first, but now she does, and they both apologized. My sister got out of jail on bond, and when she did, my parents told her that if she wanted them to pay for a lawyer, they would have to see her journals. She refused, so my parents kept their word, and my sister got a public defender. This is when she reached out to me and asked me to beg my parents to pay for a lawyer since her trial is coming up. I told her that we were scared for her and that we love her, but she needs help and that she won't let us help her. There's nothing we can do. She ended up getting 2 years of probation for what she did. She stopped speaking to my parents as well after they didn't pay for a lawyer. We found out 2 weeks ago that she had been arrested for moving out of state while still on probation. She broke the probation rules. Where did she move? To the same city as a woman she was stalking. I can't even DM the other woman because her page has been private now for a few months. When I told my parents this, they both started crying. She had a warrant out for arrest and was recently just arrested last night. We have no idea what's going to happen now. I hope that this is the wake-up call for her and she gets the psychiatric help she really needs. Wow, that escalated quickly. And now let's get into some of the top comments. Someone says, the reality is that your sister needs a full psychiatric assessment. If she ends up in prison, it won't make a difference to her behavior. All it will do is give her time to fixate and plan. Anyone, for whatever reason, could become the next victim of another obsession, and she could escalate further without intervention or treatment. I think your parents need some professional advice on how to ensure she gets the help by taking the legal route to force an evaluation. If your sister ends up in the prison system and isn't fully assessed or treated, she could end up serving her time, and when she's released, she would go free to go back into her usual behavior, and the whole cycle of obsession, arrest, and prison starts again. And then the OP says, right now, we know the county she's arrested in, and my parents are speaking to lawyers. We really want her to get help. And then another commenter says, please don't wait for your sister to actually physically assault or kill this woman. Like others said, go to the police or the prosecution and tell them about the journals. If you're not willing to do that, then contact the ex and tell him and ask him to please contact this woman and give her a heads up at the very least. Your sister needs some serious downtime in a facility for everyone, including her own sake. And then the OP responds saying, but I have no proof. When she moved away, she claims she sold all her stuff. I think she destroyed them. And that is the last update we have ever received on this situation. The OP posted this last update about 3 months ago, so we definitely could get another update in the future. But for now, that is the last we have heard from the OP. But God, that escalated quickly. And I mean, everyone saw it coming. Everybody in the first post is like, please report this to the police. This is dead serious. And the OP and the OP's parents didn't take it seriously. And guess what? The OP's sister ended up getting arrested twice, actually. And so everyone saw it coming, but the OP and her parents just didn't listen, which is so aggravating because it was so easily preventable. And the OP's sister could have been getting help a lot earlier than waiting for all of this to escalate and happen. And now who knows what's happened. Hopefully the OP's sister hasn't been released and did something else again, or who knows, but just a wild situation. OP's sister-in-law gave private information to her ex with schizophrenia. Originally posted to r/relationship advice, and the first post being titled, Sister-in-law told my ex with schizophrenia the time and location of my baby shower. Using a throwaway account as I don't want this to easily get back to my ex-boyfriend. All names were also changed. Trigger warning for schizophrenia and mental health issues. This story needs a lot of background to fully grasp how severe it is, so buckle in. My ex-boyfriend Jake, who's 27 male, and I, who's 27 female, broke up a few years ago. We have been together for over 5 years, and we're thinking about marriage and buying a house together. In the last year of our relationship, everything fell apart. Long story short, he had a sudden psychotic episode and was placed in a mental health ward, mental health facility attached to the hospital. This is in Australia, for his safety. Following that, his entire personality changed and he developed delusions, hallucinations, and paranoia, which never went away. A large part of his paranoia revolved around me controlling people around him and thinking I was trying to make him look crazy. He was also constantly accusing me of cheating on him and told me many times that he hated me. He was let out of the hospital after some time, and I took responsibility for him. This change in him was heartbreaking. He was eventually diagnosed with schizophrenia. I did everything I could to be there for him. I went to all of his mental health appointments and stayed up at night to make sure he didn't leave the house alone. He was prone to wandering out at night when experiencing psychosis. Things became too much for me to handle. He became angry, and his paranoia about me made it impossible to help him. He didn't trust me to be close to him, but at the same time, he didn't want me to leave his sight as he was convinced I was cheating. When he seemed to be doing a little better mentally, I broke up with him. I waited until I felt he would be okay on his own and helped organize for him to move back in with his parents. I was filled with guilt for that decision, but it was the right choice for me. I was struggling. For months, I received no love and was used as an emotional punching bag. I did my best. he wasn't the same person anymore, and his resentment for me was intense. Obviously, this isn't the full breakdown of his mental health issues, as a lot of things he went through are very personal. I never blamed him for what happened, but I needed to be happy and did what I needed to. It was a messy breakup, but it went better than expected. We kept talking for a little while as friends. I think the entire time we kept contact, he assumed we would get back together at some point. I continued helping him when I could. When I started a new relationship with my current partner, Sam, who is 30 male, Jake had a really bad psychotic episode and threatened the both of us. He accused me of cheating on him with Sam before we broke up, which makes no sense as I met Sam after we had broken up, and sent both of us intense messages. I managed to contact Jake's family, who got him the help he needed. Following this, I cut all contact with Jake. It was obvious that we couldn't maintain a friendship anymore. The only slight connection I have to Jake is my brother's girlfriend, Jess, who is 29 female. Her and Jake have been friends for years, and I have maintained their friendship. She knows the entire background to our relationship and never chooses sides. I would say I'm close with her. We have always been friendly. It always makes me happy to know that Jake still had a good friend to confide in. Shift forward to March of 2022. I got pregnant with Sam's baby in January and was 3 months pregnant. I had just told my family and close family about the pregnancy. I told everyone to keep it quiet as I didn't feel ready to publicly announce it. I was incredibly emotional, nauseous, and in no state to deal with any potential fallout at that point. Less than 24 hours passed after telling my side of the family and received a phone call from Jake. He had found out I was pregnant and left a voicemail saying he would be filing for custody of the baby. Obviously, he was in a psychotic episode, so I just ignored his calls and let his family know that he had reached out to me. By this point, it had been over a year since we had ever spoken. He has no idea where I live or work, so I'm not worried about him showing up to physically to confront me. I knew the only way he could have found out would have been through Jess. I called and confronted her about it, and she admitted to it. She was extremely apologetic, and she didn't think it would matter. She thought he would be fine with the news and said he deserved to know. I was upset by this, but I hadn't explicitly told her not to tell Jake, so it could have just been a mistake. Even though I told her to tell no one, I bit my tongue to keep the peace. I forgave her, but made it very clear that she shouldn't tell Jake any more information about me or the baby, and she agreed it wouldn't ever happen again. I didn't hear anything from Jake for months. Last weekend was my baby shower. Sam and I had the baby shower together. It was more of a party than a traditional baby shower. We hired a function room at a bar and invited 80 people to come celebrate. We were all having a great time until I saw Jake standing at the bar, looking around. I managed to slip away without him seeing me and grabbed security to get him escorted out. The area had been roped off for us as a private function, so I simply told them he hadn't been invited. I watched as security approached him and asked him to leave. He was furious and started to yell, demanding to talk to me before he would leave. Sam and several friends went over to him to try and talk him down, but it only escalated. He screamed at Sam, claimed that he was the baby's real dad, and that we had never really broken up. At this point, I left to hide in the ladies' room until my mom came to let me know Jake was gone. He had eventually left after a little more screaming. I was mortified and we cut the baby shower short. I couldn't stop crying. It's now been a few days and I confronted Jess. She is the only person who would have possibly told them the location and the time of the baby shower. I wasn't as kind on the phone with her this time. She admitted to telling him and apologized, but said, how could I keep this a secret from him? I was furious and told her that she would no longer receive any news about me or the baby and that I would cut her out of my life. I'm not proud of it, but I screamed at her. I could not believe how irresponsible she had been. It wasn't her news to share. My brother called me after and asked me to forgive her. He knew she was wrong, but he didn't think he should also be punished for what she had done. He knew that by cutting her out, I also wouldn't be telling him any news about the baby. In part, he thought I should blame Jake for his reaction and not Jess, that she hadn't known he would show up and the damage was already done and I should let it go. I honestly don't blame Jake for what happened. He is mentally ill and needs help. It's not his fault, and I know he will regret all of this when he comes back to a more clear headspace. I told his family what had happened, and they told me he was readmitted to the mental health ward. He had threatened to do something to himself if he wasn't allowed to see my baby. Regardless of whether I think he is at fault, I definitely don't feel safe with Jake now. I have a child to think about, and him thinking it is his is pretty scary. I haven't budged with Jess or my brother. My family all think I should forgive her so my brother can meet his niece/nephew. We don't know the gender, but I just can't trust her. She already broke my trust once, and I'm furious. I could have been hurt if Jake had confronted me at the shower. So many things could have gone wrong. I don't know what to do. I am heartbroken that my brother may not get to meet this baby for a while, but I'm scared that she could tell Jake information about the baby that could put us in danger. My parents and other family members have all agreed not to tell Jess or my brother any information about the baby upon threat of also being cut out. I just don't know how long I can feasibly cut them out before I crack. Sam is obviously on my side with all of this. If it wasn't for him, I would be in a much worse state. Any advice would be appreciated. I'm finding it hard to stick to my guns on this and worry that news will leak to Jess from other family members. My parents were particularly hesitant to promise not to tell my brother when the baby is born. And now let's get into some of the top comments on this post. Someone says, "Nope, no sympathy for the sister-in-law at all. I think you did and are doing the right thing and would not budge in any way. What a reckless thing to do. She's lucky he just screamed and left. If I was your brother, I'd be screaming at her too. Insane." And then someone replies to that saying, "Why would an ex-boyfriend need to know she is pregnant and the location of the baby shower? This is in no way his kid." I'm not buying it. The sister-in-law is in the wrong, and it sounds like she's playing some kind of sick, twisted game with him. And then someone replies to that saying, "Right? What is wrong with her? Why is she fucking with him knowing he's mentally ill? She's sick, to be honest. He doesn't need to know anything about OP. Why didn't OP's brother have her back? He wants OP to forgive his fucked up girlfriend. Why is he still with someone who told his sister's ex anything about her? He threatened both OP and her boyfriend. He is dangerous, and Jess could have gotten OP and or her boyfriend hurt. OP is right to cut the bitch off." Someone else says, "I'm so sorry you are going through this. I feel bad for you and your partner, and also for Jake, as he is obviously struggling mentally to hold on. Jess, on the other hand, needs to permanently be cut off. What she's doing is putting not only you back and your baby in immediate danger, but she's also putting Jake in danger of himself. She is purposefully triggering his weakness. And I'm not sure if she thinks this is a game or not, but it's flat out evil of her. His family needs to know about her and her toxicity if they want to help Jake." Someone else says, "Your sister-in-law is the mental one. He deserves to know. I couldn't keep it a secret. From some person that's not part of your life and never will be again? Why on earth would this person deserve to know anything? What the fuck is wrong with her train of thought and rationality? Why does she even talk to him at all? She deserves to be cut off. She can't be trusted clearly, as she's proven twice in a short period of time that she is an idiot. I'd cut her out too. She seems like an awful person." And then the OP makes an update 5 months later, and let's get into it. After I, 27 female, made that post, I was overwhelmed by the response from everyone. Thank you all for the amazing advice I received. It definitely put everything into perspective for me, It made me take things more seriously. I decided I should post an update as I received a lot of messages asking what had happened. I received a lot of comments doubting the motives of Jess, and unfortunately, you guys were right. So, I had my baby earlier than anticipated. I'm happy to announce that Sam and I now have a beautiful son. He is currently 10 weeks old and was born at 38 weeks. We are absolutely smitten with him and could not be happier. Not long after I made the original post, Sam and I moved into a new house. We had been living in a one-bedroom apartment and decided we needed more space for our growing family. Part of our decision on our house was that it was further away from my brother and Jess. Our apartment had only been a 5-minute drive from them, and I felt uncomfortable knowing that Jake could potentially be visiting and we could run into him while walking the dog. I also didn't trust that Jess hadn't told them where we lived. Our new house is now a 45-minute drive away from them, and I feel much safer. We didn't tell them the location of our new home. We had been living in our new home for about a month with no issues. I heard from Jake's family that he was on an extended mental health hold at the hospital as his psychotic episode was not subsiding and he refused to take his medication. I also warned them about his relationship with Jess, and they seemed to take it seriously. They would keep an eye on them and told the hospital that she was not to be allowed visitation with him. My family stopped pestering me to forgive Jess. My mom had a heart-to-heart with me and finally understood why I had to cut my brother out. I didn't hear anything from my brother. Apparently, my mom had stepped up and had a conversation with him about the severity of what Jess had done. It broke my heart to push my brother away as we had been so close. But after reading all of your comments, I knew that I had to be responsible and keep my baby safe. Unfortunately, things didn't stay so calm. After a few months, I received a call from Jake. He had finally been released from the hospital and was embarrassed about his behavior at the baby shower. He told me he knew that the baby wasn't his. He cried and asked to speak with Sam. He wanted to personally apologize to him. Sam didn't want to talk to him. I told him I forgave him. I knew it wasn't his fault and that we should just move on. I was also very firm with him and told him that under no circumstances would I let him be around me or my baby. If he tried to contact us, I would not hesitate to call the police. He accepted that, and our conversation ended. About 2 weeks later, Jake showed up at Sam's workplace, demanding to speak with him. They had a short conversation where Jake broke down in tears and begged to be forgiven. From what Sam told me, he didn't seem to be stable. In his apology, he said, "I'm so sorry for confronting you in public like that. I should have spoken to you privately. Clearly, you didn't know the baby isn't yours, and you were humiliated in front of your friends." Paraphrasing here. Sam didn't want to provoke him, so he said he accepted his apology and asked him to leave. Sam then called me to let me know what had happened. I was shattered. Obviously, Jess had told him where Sam worked. I called Jake's family to let them know what had happened. They told me the next day he hadn't come home and were extremely worried. He wasn't meant to be driving as his license had been suspended. He had been caught speeding several times, but he had been taking his mom's car without her permission. A few days later, he was found by police in a building that was under construction, completely out of it and confused. He had driven 20 hours away from our town. He was taken to the local hospital and placed in their mental health ward. His family flew up to retrieve him. To this day, I still haven't heard any updates on Jake. I assume he is still in a mental health facility. His family always updates me when he's released. After all of that, my brother called me and asked if he could meet up with me for lunch one day. He sounded upset on the phone, so I agreed. We met at McDonald's. Then he told me all the crazy stuff that had happened with Jess. Apparently, when Jake got out of the hospital, following the baby shower incident, he had shown up at their house to see Jess. My brother was really worried because he could tell that Jake was in a manic episode. He kept an eye on Jake while he visited and noticed that he was being extremely touchy-feely with Jess, who seemed to be flirty with him as well. It made him really uncomfortable, so he made an excuse about him and Jess needing to go to a friend's house. When Jake left him and Jess had a massive fight, he confronted Jess about the flirty behavior, and she was extremely defensive. She flat out denied that she had been flirting or that Jake had been touching her at all. My brother decided to stop it. Not long after, we later realized this happened on the same day that he had gone to Sam's workplace. Jake showed up at their house again, but this time, Jess was at work. My brother worked from home. Jake told him that he was in love with Jess, confessed that they had been sleeping together, and showed him a bunch of text messages between the two of them to prove that he wasn't making this up. My brother asked him to leave. When Jess got home, he confronted her. At first, she tried to deny it, but eventually confessed. She begged my brother to forgive her. She had realized after his outburst at the baby shower that she didn't love him. My brother was furious and told her to stay with her parents for a while. Ever since then, he hasn't heard from her. It's been months now, and it looks like things are over between the two of them. My brother feels terrible about what Jess did to me. Although I want him back in my life fully, I still don't trust that he won't eventually get back together with Jess. The two of them haven't officially broken up, and until that day comes, I won't be sharing the address or photos of our son with him. So far, my brother has met our son once at my parents' house. I still don't know why Jess decided to tell Jake about my pregnancy, but I'm so glad she isn't in our lives anymore. I haven't heard anything from her or Jake since. I'm constantly worried he could show up again. I've developed some strange OCD behaviors after it all, needing to check that all our doors are locked 5 times and touching all of the windows in our house before I can go to sleep. Other than that, things have been peaceful so far, and Sam and I have been able to enjoy our new lives as parents. I am 17 female. A creepy guy I work with who's 30s male keeps licking me. Seriously. Okay, so this is really weird and it sounds weird, but I really don't know what to do. I've been working at a local non-chain coffee shop for 6 months. I'll call the guy I mentioned in the title Joe. Joe is higher up than me, but not a manager. He trains new employees, does inventory type stuff, and makes some of the baked goods we sell. The other day, it was a really slow day. Joe, another guy that works there who's 19 male, and I were all talking, and we got on the topic of double jointed people. The other guy mentioned something about being able to lick your elbow, and I mentioned that you can't feel it if someone licks your elbow when you're not looking. Ever since then, I have caught him attempting to lick my elbow / sometimes actually licking it. It's really weird and awkward. Joe has always been kind of awkward / slow to understand social cues, but I've told him firmly every time I catch him doing it to please stop and that it makes me uncomfortable, but he still does it. I don't really know who to talk to about this or if it's even a thing to talk about. It's awkward and uncomfortable, but it seems silly / immature. But then I turn around and see a grown man continuing to lick my elbow, and I just about lose my shit. It happens every time we work together, 3+ times a day. He does it usually when no one is looking, but still, what the fuck? Do I go to someone about this? Do I yell at him? There is 2 co-owners, married couple, that work every now and then, but their kids are usually the ones in charge. Their kids are in their 20s, so I'm not sure if they would take this seriously or think I'm joking or something. And that is just so creepy and terrifying. I mean, like, obviously it's creepy, but I mean, it's just insane how this guy is doing this like in broad daylight at his job, like crouching beneath this girl and trying to lick her elbow. Like, that is just mind-blowing. Like, that is just wild. Like, it's creepy, but it's just like insane how he has the balls to do that in front of everyone and thinks it's okay. And the OP has said explicitly to not do it because it makes her uncomfortable, and that's just wild. And I hope she tells the boss immediately because this is not okay at all. And now let's get into some of the top comments. Someone says, "Tell your boss now. This is harassment. even if he's doing it as a joke. A grown man should really know that it is unprofessional and extremely inappropriate to lick another employee in any context. Option B, next time he does it, elbow him in the face hard. And then someone replies to this saying, less nuclear option B, visibly startle and scream. Flail if there's nothing breakable around. If you happen to knock him in the face with your arm, so be it. Say loudly enough for others to hear you, "You startled me." Then in a more pissed off, loud voice, "I've told you before that I don't like you licking me. Why are you still doing it? Gross, dude," etc. And I mean, I agree with basically all those things that people said or these commenters said. Like, the OP should just make a scene. They should be like, "What the fuck are you doing? Why are you trying to lick my elbow?" Like numerous times. And I mean, everybody's going to understand. They're going to be like, this young girl is being harassed by this man in his 30s. Like, everyone is going to have her back, hopefully. But someone else says, talk to whoever is in charge. If they don't do anything, threaten to sue for allowing an unsafe work environment, and document everything. Text conversations with Joe and the owners. Edit, make sure your threat isn't an idle one. Be ready to get in contact with a lawyer if your workplace continues being unsafe. But God, that is just so creepy how this dude thinks it's okay to lick the OP's elbow. I mean, like, that's just so weird. Like, that is just like mind-blowingly weird. It's like this adult man is trying to, like, I'm laughing because it's so ridiculous, but it's so scary. Like, I can't imagine being the OP and how scary it'd be to have to go to work and then deal with this dude coming in behind you and trying to lick your elbow. Like, that is just so fucking weird. But then the OP makes an update 5 days later, and the OP says, "Hello everyone, thank you for all your advice. However, things worked themselves out. One of the co-owners came in the other day and pulled me aside. She said one of her kids had mentioned some inappropriate behavior happening with Joe and I. I got pretty embarrassed and explained that for some reason, he kept trying to lick my elbows and that I had explained for him to stop. She said her kid had told her I looked upset/frustrated when he did it and came to her straight away. She said it was completely inappropriate, not only in the workplace, but in any social setting he was let go of. The co-owner had an individual talk with everyone explaining what behavior was appropriate/inappropriate and said she did not want to have to explain harassment to anyone. She asked if I would like to take legal action, but I said no. To be honest, I considered what he did annoying/uncomfortable, but I now realize it was harassment, and I thank all of you for helping me to come to terms with that. An adult man should know better." And I completely agree with that final sentiment. An adult man should absolutely know better. And the OP says, "I had a good laugh reading all your stories/ideas about elbowing him in the face. Thank you for that. Everyone at my workplace is understanding and does not blame me." And you know, that seems kind of like a good ending, but in my opinion, that is not a good ending. Because this guy, Joe, got out scot-free. And someone who does shit like that is so blatantly creepy and wrong, and such obvious harassment and just, yeah, physical touching that's just completely inappropriate. Anyone who does that so blatantly will most likely do it again. And so I feel like it's not a win in this case. I mean, it's great that he's not working with the OP anymore, but it's not a win because he will most likely just do something creepy to someone else. I really think that the police should have been called about this, and the OP should have mentioned how this guy is touching her inappropriately and doing all of these things. And because, like, who knows? He could totally just go to the next job and then continue doing creepy stuff like this for whatever reason because he thinks it's okay. But, you know, hopefully he learned his lesson. But at the same time, I really think that the authorities should have been called so this guy is on their radar, or some sort of psychiatrist, because that is just not normal behavior, no matter which way you put it. That is so creepy and honestly just terrifying to me how this man was just doing that over and over and over again when the girl explicitly said no multiple times and in broad daylight with other people around. That just means, like, he needs help from law enforcement or a psychiatrist or something, and hopefully he ended up learning his lesson and moving on. But, you know, I really think the authorities should have been involved here. But luckily, the OP is doing fine at their job now, and I hope that was the end of this whole mess. Today, my boyfriend said he was in the mood to kill me. What the fuck? I've been dating my boyfriend for about a year now, and for the most part, he's been absolutely wonderful, and I love him so much. We have a pretty intense, intimate life, and I'm usually really chill with that. However, recently, he's been taking it a little too far. Like, I love choking in the bedroom, but he started doing it in public. Like today, we took our dog to the park, and I said or did something he didn't like, and he spanked me. I was shocked. Later on in the day, we were doing the deed, and he started to choke me, which I usually like. It got to the point where I properly couldn't breathe, so I used our signal to stop, and he just looked down at me, said, "I'm not going to stop because I'm in the mood to kill you." He must have seen the fear in my eyes or something, and he immediately let go and cradled me and said sorry. I thought it was just him being in the moment, so I let it go. But it happened a second time. He was just staring at me and was whispering sweet things to me. And then it took a turn to, "You're mine forever, never gonna let you go, I'll kill you if you leave." I recoiled because it made me uncomfortable, and he tickled me and told me it was a joke. I love this man, but what the fuck? How do I bring this up to him? To be honest, I'm tempted to leave. We both don't have dark senses of humor, so I don't know where this came from. How do I address this? What should I say? And now let's get into some of the top comments. Someone says, "Man, you cannot play around with shit like this. Wouldn't you rather get away and be able to see your grandkids one day, or risk the chance this guy will not stop choking you? Unless you think you are stronger than him, please, OP, look out for yourself. This is scary and not normal." Someone else says, "He ignored your safe word, and his response to use it was to joke about killing you while doing something that very much could kill or cause serious injury to you. Honestly, I don't think I could ever trust a partner that lost in his own power fantasies, because the one that gets hurt in all of this is you. Why should it take you feeling like you are about to die to get him to stop? And what happens when he starts enjoying that aspect of it? What will stop him? Do you say whoops when you end up in the hospital, or worse? How long before a public spanking becomes a playful slap to the face?" And this isn't a SA slippery slope argument. Clearly something has changed. This is where you are at. And then basically, or all of the rest of the post said that you should leave him, or the OP should leave him, and just get the fuck out, because this is horrific behavior and this will only escalate. And then the OP gives us an update, and so let's get into that. The OP says, "I just wanted to let everyone know that I am out and I am safe. I am from Australia." So I posted that at 10 p.m. thinking I'd only get a few responses, and at first I did, and read through them and went to sleep. I woke up at around 12 in the morning with an overwhelming response of supportive and concerned messages, and I absolutely cannot thank you guys enough. I had a bit of a cry. Took our dog and left my now ex-boyfriend at around 1 a.m. and now am safely at my parents' house. So he doesn't know where I am. I've turned off location services and such so that he can't find me, and I've messaged all my friends explaining the situation. I am so ridiculously sorry that it took me so long to update. My parents took me straight to the local police station after I explained the situation, and they saw the large purple bruising on my neck from the choking. Oh my God. I've been at my local police station explaining everything to them in hopes to be able to get an intervention order or something so that he can't contact or come near me again. I want to thank everyone for the overwhelming support and concern. You all are such incredible people to have such genuine concern for someone you don't know. I am someone who looks at my relationships with rose-colored glasses, and this incident and your comments and advice have helped me take those off and look at toxicity for what it really is. In terms of what will happen with my ex-boyfriend, I have blocked him on everything. All of my friends have blocked him, and I absolutely will not contact him again. Him and I work together, and I've put in a request for a store transfer, so I am hoping that will be approved. If not, all hope is not lost, as I have 2 jobs and will happily quit this one to never have to see that man's face again. I am an adult and need to handle the situation like one. My dad and older cousin are arranging to go pick my stuff up from my old house. Thank you again so much. I cannot express how much you all have helped me, and quite frankly, I'm pretty sure you have all saved my life. My doggy Daisy and I are very safe at my parents' house, and I have a good stash of Ben & Jerry's to try help me cope. And to all the men in my DMs calling me horrible names, please stop. You're really not helping. My girlfriend beat the shit out of someone who broke into her house. Originally posted to r/true off my chest, and the post reads as follows. The other night, I was sleeping over at my girlfriend's. She lives 1 street over from the middle of nowhere. No streetlights, no sidewalks, and keeps her house dark at night except for the room she's in to attract bats and detract bugs. I think it was like 2 a.m. when I woke up to my girlfriend telling me to call 911. Long story short, a guy had broken a window into the garage and was going through my car. He had a knife, but my girlfriend has a shotgun, unloaded, and wanted to scare him off with it. Cops really gave us a verbal shakedown for that, by the way. We are fucking idiots and don't ever confront a burglar, but this guy was clearly unhinged and charged at us. I don't really remember how it happened, but my girlfriend somehow tripped him, or maybe he tripped on his own, and then started basically tamping this guy's rib cage down with his lungs with the stock. I had to physically stop her. A little bit about my girlfriend. She cries when she sees sick or hurt animals. She's constantly doing or offering to do nice things for people. She won't even squish bugs. She catches them and releases them if she finds any. She's a Buddhist. Non-violence is important to her. Before this, I described her as one of the gentlest person I knew. So what the fuck? After I stopped her, she was so calm. She sat cross-legged on the floor and then made a call to a lawyer before the cops even got there. No charges for girlfriend yet. Lawyer has been helpful. Cops, less so. They wanted to arrest me when they got there for some reason, and my girlfriend had to actually ask for an ambulance for the guy because they tried to just load him into the police car, and he was screaming and moaning. He lived, but is still in the hospital. It's been 2 days since this happened, and I still feel like my heart is racing. Every time I see my girlfriend, I see her covered in blood with a shotgun. It has not changed how I feel about her, but goddamn, it's changed how I see her. Edit. Clarifying a few things, I didn't think this would get any attention. First, girlfriend is doing good, all things considered. Someone was worried that the blood was hers. The guy came in pre-wounded because there were bloody handprints on my car. He was definitely on something. My girlfriend is currently taking a bunch of drugs since she was exposed to his blood too. Girlfriend hasn't talked much about it, what happened, and I'm not going to push her right now. I'm worried about her. I'm taking care of her. I've been staying with her since this happened and feeding her. Someone said to bake a cake. I am a professional chef, also apparently an idiot. After this, I'm going to the store. A lot of people seem to think my view of her has changed for the worse. That is deeply untrue. Rereading my post, I realized I made it sound that way, so that's my fault. It's still pretty fresh in my mind, and I'm processing things on the go. I was just having difficulty reconciling this new view of her with who I thought she was before. But I realize now that she hasn't changed. I just learned more about her. And what I learned is that she's a certified badass, to quote many of you in the comments. Also, a lot of people are calling me out for not helping more. Don't get me wrong. I feel guilty that I didn't do much other than call 911 in the moment. I don't want to sound like I'm making excuses for myself because I was still absolutely scared shitless, but my girlfriend didn't really give me a chance to help. This all happened very quickly. By the time she woke me up, she was armed and out of bed. I'm deaf in one ear and a heavy sleeper anyway, so I'm glad she woke me up at all. I'm not sure why the shotgun wasn't loaded, but she only told me afterwards. I was expecting her to shoot him, not beat him half to death. RE, the cops, I won't get into it, but my girlfriend has had issues with the local cops before. She lives in a town that barely qualifies for its own law enforcement, but the one they do have has nothing to do 99% of the time. They seemed like they were in a rush to get finished with us the whole time they were there. I think they were probably pissed off they got called out on the 4th of July for something that actually requires paperwork. Thank you everyone in the comments. I've read every single one of them so far. There's a lot of good advice there, and a good amount of deserved criticism that I am open to. How else do you improve? I think my boyfriend is drugging me before bed. Originally posted to r/relationship advice, and the post reads as follows. So I need to shed some backstory to this. I've had really nasty insomnia most of my life. It's come and gone since I was around 10. I have to sleep with blackout window blinds because any amount of light keeps me up. Sometimes the sound of my own breathing can keep me from falling asleep. But even when the insomnia isn't bad, it still takes me at minimum an hour to fall asleep. Coupled with the insomnia, I've always been a very light sleeper. To give a perfect example, one night the power went out, causing my fan to shut off. The switch from the soft humming noise of the fan to complete silence was enough to wake me up. And I usually wake up several times throughout the night for absolutely no reason at all. With all that said, let me jump into why I think I'm being drugged. A few months ago, I began a new medication that has seriously fucked up my libido. If I'm being honest, I've almost lost the desire to have intimacy completely. I still have intimacy from time to time, but mostly just to please my boyfriend and not because I want to. But our intimate life has really plummeted. Again, most nights it takes me an hour to fall asleep after shutting off my phone, but within the past few months, there's been a handful of nights where I'm sitting on my phone, browsing Reddit or reading when my eyes get really heavy all of a sudden, and next thing I know, I'm completely in a deep sleep. I mean within minutes. I won't wake up again until the morning. This has never occurred in my life, but I saw it as a blessing because maybe I was finally overcoming my insomnia. This may be TMI, but it's very relevant to the situation. And I can't exactly read what the OP says here because it's very explicit. But basically, I'm just going to kind of PG this. So basically, she says, any ladies that have ever had intimacy or freak time without a condom knows that when you get up after the intimacy, all of the juices falls out of you. That's still pretty explicit, but it's a little bit better than what she said. And she said that whenever she wakes up, she has that same sensation and that same feeling the morning after, such as if she had intimacy the night before, even though she didn't. And so she says, a few days ago, I put two and two together. This always happens the night after I would doze off really suddenly. So obviously very concerning. I've never ever felt unsafe with my boyfriend, and he's never really pressured me to have intimacy. He'll get really frustrated when I turn him down, but I've chalked it up to blue balls and let it go. But now I've started thinking more and more about it, figuring out logistically how he could be doing this. Every night before bed, I drink a Gatorade in the fridge with my medication. If he is drugging me, he could easily be putting it in my Gatorades. So what the hell am I supposed to do? I mean, bringing this up to him is a pretty huge accusation, especially if I'm wrong. I have no idea how to address this or what I should do. And now let's get into some of the top comments. Someone says, take your meds with something else, like water straight from the tap. You can also order date R-word drug testing kits online. You basically dip a bit of paper in your drink, I think, and it'll tell you straight away. If it tests positive, take it and the drink itself to the police as soon as possible. If it's negative, I would say see your doctor. And then the OP responds saying, thanks. I knew there were ways to test yourself after being R-worded to see if you had traces of a drug in your system, but I also knew that those drugs leave your system very quickly. But should I confront him at all? It's so foreign to me to not talk about my problems with him. We've always had such open communication. Someone else says, are your drinks sealed? If they are unsealed, that's a hint. Like everyone else said, take your meds with something you pour yourself. Also, make sure you get your own meds so nothing else is slipped in. As a person who wakes up if a owl farts in China, I feel your pain of not sleeping. And then the OP makes an edit saying, I thought I'd answer a few of the frequently asked questions up here. First being what medication I'm taking. She's taking just a pill. And I've got a lot of people asking why I'm drinking Gatorade before bed. I don't drink those big bottles, just the mini 12-ounce bottles. I drink it because it's a solid way to keep up my electrolytes since I'm not great at keeping myself hydrated. And I guess the way I saw it, I'm already not going to sleep, so drinking something that might affect my ability to sleep won't really matter. And a clarification, when I said I fall asleep within minutes, I didn't mean within minutes of taking my med. There's been a lot of great advice, but I'm probably going to do one of two or both things. Try to record the fridge and see if I can get video of this happening. And I've ordered these drink test strips that you can dip in your drink, and it'll tell you if there are drugs in the drink. And then the OP made an update saying, so I went to inspect my Gatorades in the fridge, and yes, I've heard you, I'll switch to something other than Gatorade. I keep them lined up very neatly, kind of how you'd see at the store. I noticed that about 3 bottles back from the first, the seal was broken open. The drink itself is still completely full. So I took that bottle, broke the seal on one, and put it in its place. I went over to a friend's house because I'm completely panicked now. I don't know what to tell him, but the test strips aren't coming until Tuesday, and I don't want to go back. And then the OP makes an update 4 days later. So let's get into that. All right, so a lot has happened since I put up my post, and I really did try to keep this short but failed. Per a lot of people's comments, I checked the bottles to see if any were unsealed. I found one bottle a few rows back with a broken seal. In a panic, I took it with me to a friend's and hadn't come back home until today. My friend and I brought a drug test at Walmart, which came up clear. Yesterday, I was able to go into an appointment with my doctor to discuss the symptoms. While she reiterated what you all had said, that the drug side effect along with the paranoia and fatigue, she believes that if what I'm telling her is accurate, it is improbable that I would only be experiencing these side effects so sporadically. She recommended that I see my OB about the passing out. I have not been able to see the OB yet. Today I came home to retrieve the test strips I ordered. I ordered 2 different brands to cover all bases. These would test for a multitude of drugs. I also snooped around for any hidden medications per one commenter's recommendation, but didn't find any. I took the strips back to my friend's house and tried several times. All came up negative. At this point, I was starting to get so aggravated with myself, feeling like it's just paranoia all along. So I decided that I should sit down and talk with my boyfriend about everything. When he got home, I sat him down and explained everything that was going on, from feeling like he's angry about the decrease in intimacy, to the symptoms I was having, to the one opened Gatorade in the refrigerator. He immediately got very angry and defensive, which I thought was weird because I, in no way, brought this up accusatorily. I was as calm as I could be, but he continued to get angry and finally began blaming all of this on my lack of intimacy. He said he'd been getting more and more angry. At this point, I was so frustrated that I told him exactly what I thought he was doing. I asked him if he could give me a logical explanation as to why one Gatorade would be unsealed. He got angry and left without a word, so I took the time to gather my own thoughts. When he came back, he sat me down and confessed to me what was going on. Apparently, he had found out through a friend about a pill, which I guess is the female equivalent to Viagra. He refused to tell me how he obtained these pills, which makes me very uneasy. He said that he had been giving me these pills every so often so that I would be interested in having intimacy. I was rightfully livid, but he kept referencing some movie where the girl was slipping Viagra into her boyfriend's drink, and that's why it was okay for him to do it to me in his mind. That is just fucking wild. He swears up and down that the nights that he gave it to me, even though I was clearly asleep, I was still giving indications that I wanted to have intimacy with him. However, he's given me no explanation of what that means or how I was given such indications. So I sat down to do some of my own research on it. This pill really shows not a whole lot of information on it causing sedation. So I hopped over to Medication Interaction website. Like I had said, I'm taking the other pill, but I had also taken melatonin, and since spring had started, I've been taking my allergy medication, Sudafed allergy. Under interactions, the ingredients in the Sudafed allergy mixed with this pill causes increased sedation, not to mention the melatonin on top of this. So, unbeknownst to him, slipping me this pill, at who knows what dose, was causing me to feel heavily sedated. He's continued to try and argue that he really has done nothing wrong, and that it was equivalent to him trying to turn me on by doing some things to me. Oh my God. This is just insane. He really said he doesn't think he's done nothing wrong. That is insane. He thinks he's done nothing wrong. That is so terrifying. And the OP says, but I've already told him that he needs to leave. I'm staying at my friend's house in the meantime because I have no interest in sticking around someone that thinks it's okay to slip medication to people. And now let's get into some of the top comments. Someone says, holy shit. I mean, he was risking your life with those medication interactions just because he's intimately frustrated. What a scumbag. Someone else says, kick him out and don't ever talk to him. He violated your trust. What a scumbag. He could have talked to you about his feelings, but he thought it was okay to impair someone. And the OP responds to this saying, and the stupid thing is that if he would have just brought the idea to me in the first place about taking something for my libido, I probably would have been open to it. But he decided he'd rather hide it. Someone else says, wow, that is a flat out R-wordist and a criminal in the making. I'm so horrified on your behalf and glad that you're able to stand up for yourself. Please take time to digest this, to mull over your options, whether they be pressing charges, warning his acquaintances, therapy, etc. And the OP responds saying, my friend agrees that I should be pressing charges. As much as I want to, I really have zero evidence of it. When all the Gatorade tests came up null, we threw it out because I definitely wasn't going to drink it anyway. And God, I just wonder what happened, because the OP has since deleted their account, so we've gotten no further updates, but just such a horrific and terrifying scenario. And it's so disgusting that the OP's boyfriend was literally just drugging her and then having his way with her. That is just so disgusting and horrific. And honestly, he should be in jail. But I don't know if he ever got, criminal charges or whatever, but he should be in jail because that is so horrific. I mean, yeah, God. I just really hope the OP is doing better now. I, 24 female, think my neighbor, 28 male, might be stalking me. I'm not sure, and I want to ask here before I tell my husband, who's 32 male, because I'm afraid he might react strongly. And the post reads as follows. I live in a pretty close-knit neighborhood. I'm a stay-at-home mom to a toddler girl and a boy who's in the first grade. My husband works away from home and he's gone most of the day, sometimes overnight. I've begun noticing that the neighbor who lives on our left, who is 28 male, around a lot more. I know he works from home, but I feel like I see him whenever I'm outside with my kids. When I go to the grocery store, I notice him leaving as well, and then he pulls back in at the same time as me. Whenever I come back from picking my son up from school, he's outside. I have a Ring doorbell, And I've noticed when I go right from the school to my house, 20-ish minutes, he's only out for 20 minutes. He'll go right in after I go in. But if I go somewhere else or take longer, he'll be out there until I come home. And then he'll go back in. I feel kind of freaked out. I have always had fine interactions with him. He always waves and everything. He works as a programmer from home, and he's never done anything bad. It's just how often I see him. I don't want to mention anything to my husband because he has a pretty short fuse, and I'm scared he'll flip out and go and confront him or think I'm having an affair or something crazy like that. Am I just being paranoid, or does this seem like something I should mention? And now let's get into some of the top comments. Someone says, if you're scared that by mentioning to your husband about a stalking neighbor would result in him going off on one and accusing you of an affair, then your marriage doesn't sound good at all. You shouldn't be afraid of your husband, though it sounds like it's another classic case of an older guy in his 20s going after a teenage girl and marrying and having kids with her, and she's afraid of him. And then the OP responds saying, I'm not afraid of him, LOL, but I am afraid of him flying off the handle if I'm just being paranoid. Someone else says, this is really not a lot to go on. Perhaps you should spend a week or two changing up your pattern and doing your best to avoid/ignore the guy. See if any more patterns become apparent. And then the OP responds saying, I have. That's what I'm saying. I switch times, how long I'm out, etc. He's still only out when I'm out. And then that commenter responds to the OP saying, does he try to talk to you? Have you ever seen him out at the grocery store or cleaners or restaurants? If you feel up to it, you might comment to him that it's weird that you see him regularly. Understand that nothing could be done about this short of a restraining order, so it's best to try to discourage him yourself. Do a couple of other things. Keep a logbook of when and where you see him. Tell a friend and family member what you are doing and why. And then the OP responded saying, we've talked in a friendly manner before. Yes, I have seen him at the store. And then we did not get an update for a long time. But then 36 days later, the OP posts an update saying, hello, I'm posting an update on something I posted a little over a month ago. I was concerned that my neighbor was stalking me. I was debating whether or not to tell my husband for fear of him overreacting. I decided to tell my husband about it. I just said, hey, have you noticed Trevor outside a lot? And he said no and asked me why. And I said, oh, no reason. I've just noticed him outside whenever I'm out there. And I wish I had never said anything. My husband immediately was like, what do you mean noticing him? Why are you noticing him? And I tried to drop it, but he kept pushing. So I eventually just told him basically what I wrote in my post, and he exploded. And immediately went next door, even though I begged him not to. And he went to our neighbor's door and started to pound on it and yelling. Our neighbor came to the door and knew my husband was looking for a fight because he was immediately like, you need to leave now. Obviously, my husband didn't leave, and it began a pretty serious verbal altercation and eventually physical. The police came and broke it up, telling my husband to go back home and stay away from the neighbor. As you can imagine, the entire thing was horrible. All of the neighbors were outside. We live in a pretty affluent, quiet neighborhood, so the police don't usually get called. When we got back to our house, my husband began yelling at me. He asked me if I was sleeping with the neighbor, why I had been asking about him, why the neighbor got so defensive, etc. He was so angry I didn't recognize him. He began hitting the walls and throwing things. When I tried to reason with him and tell him the situation, he began to get physical with me as well. After a while, I was able to call the police. They arrested him, and I had to stay at the hospital for a bit. Right now, my kids and I have an order of protection against my husband. I have not seen or talked to him since this happened. After I came home, I went over to my neighbor's house to apologize for what happened. He told me that he had known my husband was abusive, and he could hear him yelling at me and the kids. He said that the reason he was often outside when the kids and I were there is because he felt unsure about if he was abusive or not and wasn't sure if he should say something. He said that he used the times to say hi to us, to see if there were any bruises or signs of physical injury, and to see if the kids seemed all right. I don't want to reconcile with my husband. My oldest son, who is 6, keeps asking me why his father uses hands instead of his words. My 2-year-old keeps playing with her dolls and saying, "Daddy, don't hit, don't hit." It makes me want to cry. They are seeing therapists to help process all of this. And then one of the top comments is, "Divorce him before it gets worse." And the OP says, "Like I said in the post, I don't have any plans of reconciling with him. Divorce is very expensive, so I'm not sure when I will officially begin the process. There are a lot of things I need to get him in order first, but I have no intention of not divorcing him." And that is the last update we have ever received from the OP. I got a call that my brother might be dead. I'm just waiting. This happens to thousands of people each year. I am no different. My brother has struggled with opiate addiction most of his adult life. I just got a phone call that my brother was found in a hotel room in Buffalo, New York at 6:53 a.m. with a needle hanging out of his arm. He was working on a job site out there. All of the information I got was they found him with a needle hanging out of his arm. They are waiting for an ambulance. The next update was the police and ambulance are there, but they're not letting anyone in the room. It doesn't sound good. I just had to call my mother and listen to her scream like a wounded animal. I can't breathe. My little brother is my best friend, and I always read the sub from my main account. I never thought I would have to post here. And then about an hour later, the OP makes a post saying, "We think he's dead. The police just keep asking for my mom and dad's phone number, my mom's address. Nobody is telling me if he's dead or alive. He must be dead. I can't breathe. I'm sorry. I know I'm talking to nobody. My son is sleeping. I need to bring him to pre-K at 9:30. I just feel like all of the wind is sucked out of my body. My brother, despite his addiction, is a wonderful uncle, and my son absolutely loves him. I do not know how to process what I'm feeling right now. I just can't stop crying. I'm just walking around using talk to text in my kitchen, crying." And then the OP makes an update 5 hours later, and it reads as follows. "He died. My beautiful baby brother, he's gone. I knew it was bad when the police and the ambulance didn't leave to take him to the hospital. I just spoke with the Buffalo PD. Apparently security cameras see my brother going into his hotel room last night at 7 p.m. DoorDash delivered at 7:45 p.m. and my brother never came outside to get his food. He didn't want to die. He was struggling with an opiate addiction and has been for about a decade. He was an amputee, lost his leg to an OD in 2018. We thought he had turned the corner. He moved out to be with me and got a job welding with my fiance. He was at his job site in Buffalo. They found him when he didn't come out to work this morning. Now we have to figure out how to get his body back home. Cremation seems like the only affordable method. I'm just beside myself. My poor mother. I have my brother's betta fish here, and I've just been sitting here and staring at the fish, looking around my brother's room. He had just gone to the Van Gogh exhibit in Cincinnati. He had his VIP pass hanging up. My brother was so smart, funny, and kind, and I will never see him again. He wasn't what you think about when you picture a drug addict. He was a wonderful human. Please, people, educate your friends and loved ones about fentanyl. The police found some pills on his body. They said the test was positive for fentanyl. I don't even know what to say. This was the worst thing I've ever had to get off my chest. They are doing his autopsy later today, and then he should be cremated in the next few days. I told my mother I would drive his body back home. I brought him out here for the job, and I will bring him home. Hug your loved ones extra tight. And that is just such a heartbreaking Reddit thread. And a lot of you guys might be asking me, why would you even include such a heartbreaking and sad Reddit thread? Well, the reason I included it is the last paragraph there, when the OP says, please educate your friends and families about fentanyl. I mean, you guys, I'm sure, are very educated about it. It's very dangerous, but, I feel like I have an audience and it's important for me to do my part, even if it, teaches one person new about fentanyl and the risks of it. But if you guys partake in any sort of substance use, please get it, whatever tested, or just don't partake. I mean, of course, that's not realistic. Of course, everybody's going to, not everybody, but a lot of people are going to partake in some sort of substance. But just if you are, please get whatever you're doing tested, or just be careful, because fentanyl is so dangerous, and so many people year after year keep losing their lives to this horrific drug that is lacing so many substances. And it is beyond dangerous, and you never get a second chance. And I just hope the OP has been able to move on from this horrific thing that happened. And it's just such a sad story. And rest in peace to the OP's brother. And I hope the OP and his family are doing better now. But yeah, I just really thought this was important to add, because even if I teach one of you guys to be a little bit more careful when partaking, then it's worth it. But yeah, such a sad Reddit thread.